What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to this channel and you would like to support the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that bell so you're notified every time I come out with a brand new video. And also, leave me a comment. I'll definitely respond. And also, one last thing. Like this video. The last few videos, we've been really killing it, getting a lot of likes. So let's try to get this video over 100 likes. And also, I just completed my first year in YouTube. And I really want to say thank you to all you guys who have been really supporting me since day one. Well, Raider Nation, our Raiders finished the season off beating the Denver Broncos 27-14, and we beat them for the 8th straight time. And we beat the Broncos playing that AP style of football. You know, tough nose defense and smash mouth football. We ran the ball down their throats. And, you know, we got after Jarrett Stidham. We sacked him 5 times, and we also caused the turnover. Trayvon Merrick came down with the interception, and he really has had his best season of his young career. You know, and the Raiders have really come along on the defensive side of the ball this year. You know, 5 sacks, like I said. Tyree Wilson even got a sack. Malcolm Koonce got a sack. Malcolm Koonce finished the season with 8 sacks. Tyree finished the season with 3.5 sacks. You know, as the season went on, Tyree Wilson really emerged and really became a better player. He really showed glimpses of why we went out and drafted him high in that first round. And like I said, guys, we really played AP style of football. You know, Zamir White ran the ball for over 100 yards, you know, averaging over 4 yards a carry. That's now, I think, his 3rd game as a Raider, over 100 yards, and that's huge. You know, because before Josh McDaniels has gone fired, all of Raider Nation had written off Zamir White, and since AP has been given that head coach job, you know, Zamir White has really shown his potential, really having great games. You know, I think he's averaging around 100 yards. They showed a stat during the game that him, Christian McCaffrey, and I can't remember the other guy, but him and 2 other players were the top 3 players since week 15 with the most total scrimmage yards. So, hey, you know, I tip my hat off to you, Zamir. You know, you've really improved since we drafted you last year. You know, and that brings me to my next, you know, thing. Is that the last we've seen in a Josh Jacobs uniform? Is that the last we've seen in a Hunter Renfrow uniform? You know, drafting guys like Zamir White and Trey Tucker and even Michael Mayer. You know, those guys really showed a lot of potential this year, and hey, maybe we might let go of a guy like Hunter Renfrow and not bring back Josh Jacobs, because that will save us a whole lot of cap. You know, we need the money. We need to move up in this draft, because right now the Raiders hold the 13th overall pick. You know, and like I said, Aiden O'Connell is not the quarterback of the future. He clearly is a game manager, and that's exactly how he played today. You know, he finished once again under 300 yards passing. He threw 2 touchdowns, but with no interceptions. But like I said, he's clearly not the guy. Guys, you know, he's going to be a backup, you know, going forward. And the Raiders clearly need to go after a quarterback in the draft. You know, as of right now, we hold the 13th overall pick. You know, we're not too far off to get a top guy. Like I was saying in my earlier videos, there's about 5 potential franchise quarterbacks coming out of this year's draft. Can the Raiders move up and secure one of their quarterbacks? You know, we'll have to wait and see. But if the Raiders definitely want to compete this year, that is something that we have to do. We have to trade up in the draft and get ourselves our franchise quarterback of the future. You know, and AP has really been showing signs that he desperately wants to remain the head coach of this team. You know, he's really changing the culture. You know, he let the players change jerseys the last day of practice. You know, he invited the Raiders alumni all week for practice. They were on the sideline during the game. They were in the locker room celebrating the victory after the Raiders won. You know, as AP was walking off the field, the Raider Nation was giving them a standing ovation, chanting AP, AP, clearly making their presence felt. They want Mark Davis to know that Raider Nation wants AP as their head coach. The Raider players came out during the week and and really made their case for AP to return. Devontae Adams made his case that he would love to have AP return as the coach. Max Crosby, Aiden O'Connell, all these guys were desperately saying, hey, AP deserves to be the head coach. We want him to be the head coach. But let me ask you this. It's easy to love the next guy when the last coach was so much hated, when the last guy was such an idiot, made so many blatant errors, so many bad play calls, didn't have a great culture. Everyone was walking around on eggshells when Josh McDaniels was in the building. It's easy to love the next guy, and especially when the next guy embraces the Raider mentality, embraces the Raider way. It's going to be really telling to see just how involved and just how much AP has really changed the culture if he were to be given this head coaching job, because I want to see how the players respond this training camp, this mini camp coming up, this offseason. Could the Raiders go in offseason with no scandals, with no off-the-field issues if AP were to retain that head coach position? That would be telling. Or will they be the same old Raiders? Because one thing he did change is the discipline. For the first time in franchise history, the Raiders finished the season leading the league in the least amount of penalties committed. I got to tip my hat off. Never did I ever think that was a possibility being a Raider fan. For so many years, the Raiders led the league in penalties. I think we were, for 2 decades, from 2000 to 2020, I think we had the most penalties committed. So like I said, I got to tip my hat off for AP for changing that part of the culture. And also on this defensive side of the ball, our defense really has taken the personality of our coach and has really been, playing the Raider way on that side of the ball. 90% of the head coaches in the NFL are about offense. It's a very few amount of head coaches are defensive-minded guys. 3 head coaches that are rumored to be fired, one of them already fired, are all defensive-minded guys. Ron Rivera, Bill Belichick, both defensive-minded guys, are both rumored to be fired this offseason. Brandon Staley, another defensive-minded coach, has already been fired. So is Mark Davis willing to go that route and hire Antonio Pierce, a defensive-minded guy? Because, I know Mark Davis loves to see points being scored. I know he wants a big name at the head coach. He has a big brand. We're going up there in top team revenue. I think we're the 6th highest team in revenue. So we're growing in that capacity. I know he would love a Jim Harbaugh, a big name coach to lead his team. Is Antonio Pierce the sexy name? We'll have to see. I know Raider Nation is behind Antonio Pierce, and we desperately want Mark Davis to hire Antonio Pierce, but it's not to us. For so long we've been losing, and we get this coach who embodies the Raider way and says the right things, and we immediately fall in love. But we can't be mesmerized about what he says. We clearly have to see the product on the field. And his resume is 5-4. We didn't get into the playoffs. We didn't finish exactly where we wanted to. But hey, let's give him one off season just to see what he could do. I don't think we have to clearly commit fully and give him a 2-year deal. But why not at least give him a 1-year deal? Let's see what he does in this off season. Let's see who he brings in as offensive coordinator. Because like I stated, Ron Rivera is rumored to be fired, and his offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, is rumored to let go. So that's a name I would love for the Raiders to bring in as offensive coordinator if Antonio Pierce were to remain the head coach. But that remains to be seen, guys. We will know in the next few weeks just who our coach will be. I know these owners love to make the coaches hire quick. So we'll know before February, we'll know before the Super Bowl who the head coach of the Raiders moving forward would be. So like I've been saying, guys, I would love for the Raiders to bring back Antonio Pierce. But if a Jim Harbaugh is staring at you right in the face and he's wanting to come to the Raiders, how could you pass that up? This guy has won everywhere he's gone, you know. But is he willing to come to the Raiders? That's the big question. You know, I know Mark Davis would love to bring in Jim Harbaugh. That's the big sexy name, you know. But hey, you know, is he willing to bring back Antonio Pierce? And are those coaches willing to come back under him? You know, that remains to be seen. Just because we want AP back, who knows if Patrick Graham would want to return under Antonio Pierce? You know, could he see himself returning as a defensive coordinator under Antonio Pierce? You know, because as of Saturday, Adam Schefter reported that Mark Davis informed his whole coaching staff to go ahead and apply for other coaching positions because coming back wasn't guaranteed. So that lets you know that maybe a Jim Harbaugh, maybe a Ben Johnson is his first option and Antonio Pierce isn't his first option. But hey, you know, that, like I said, that remains to be seen. We'll have to see in the next few weeks just where the Raiders are headed. Let me know in the comments if you would want the Raiders to return AP as the head coach next year and how you guys feel about the Raiders right now, currently holding the 13th overall pick. Do you want them to move up and secure a pick to get our franchise quarterback? And until next time, Raider Nation, peace.